I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and this Monday we are going to talk about the gear that I am taking to the Snipershide Cup, which will be shot in Washington State next weekend. But unfortunately, since I am driving out this time, it's about a 3-day drive each direction if I don't want to totally kill myself. So I'll be leaving tomorrow morning to head out that direction. Now, the Snipershide Cup is an event that I had been meaning to shoot for several years and just have not gotten a chance to because of other commitments. So this year I kind of made this one a priority and scheduled vacation for it, decided, I'm actually going to go out and shoot it. Well, unfortunately, this year is probably the farthest west that the event has been shot. I think previous years it was mainly shot in Colorado and that general area. Now they've moved it all the way out to the western half of the U.S., out to Washington. Luckily, it's not all the way out against that left-hand coastline, but it's still a pretty good ways out. It's about 4,000 or about 2,000 mile drive each direction. So a little bit more than 4,000 mile total for me to drive out and back to that match. But first of all, let's talk about why I chose to drive. Yeah, flying is a whole lot quicker, but the problem for me is when you fly to a field match where you're carrying a bunch of gear, it really starts to get to be a pain in the butt to drag that stuff through the airport. Secondly is just an economy kind of thing. Just purchased a new car that gets really good gas mileage. It actually ends up more expensive for me to fly with my baggage than it is for me to drive out, especially if you factor in that I'll need a rental car on the far end as well. So overall, chose to drive this time. We're going to drag all the gear out there. I'm going to drag camping gear out, and I'll be camping out at the range for the 3 days that the actual match occurs. Now, the Snipershide Cup is they bill it as a 2.5-day match, 325 rounds of rifle ammunition total, 100 rounds of handgun ammunition total. So there apparently are going to be some handgun stages thrown in or handgun components of the rifle stages of fire thrown in, which is always fun. Some guys really dislike it because a lot of guys that you see outside of professional precision rifle shooters are either rifle shooters or handgun shooters, and not a lot are equally adept at both disciplines. I love handgun stages because I figure I'm a pretty decent handgun shooter, and when they throw in handgun stages at precision rifle stages or precision rifle matches, it gives me a little bit of an advantage. Now, let's talk about the equipment that I'm going to take out there. First of all, the rifle in front of me, it's not made appearances on our videos for quite some time, but this is the Accuracy International AE Mark II. We have a review on our website that we did ages and ages ago. It is topped with a Vortex Razor Gen I, a 5 to 20 power rifle scope. And we also have a review of the Vortex Razor Gen I on our website, and I'll link to both of those down below. Well, since the early days when we did the reviews of these components, this rifle has changed a little bit. It now sports the current version of the Accuracy International skins for it, their pistol grip skins. And it also has a Krieger 26-inch 243 barrel on it. And this is a really meaty barrel. I believe this is a Krieger number 9, but don't hold me to that. It's pretty much a straight taper barrel, so it's got a ton of weight to it. And we have a Atlas version 8 bipod on the front here on an Atlas spigot mount. Overall, the rifle ends up being a very, very accurate package, but the main reason that I'm taking this guy is because it is incredibly reliable. When we take the Accuracy Internationals out into field conditions and get them dirty, muddy, rained on, not so much a concern with this match, but packed in sleet or packed in snow, they just function. They function 100%. I have not ever had an Accuracy International go down on me in a match. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened somewhere. I'm sure it has, because any mechanical device can fail. But I have seen a much, much lower percentage of AIs fail in matches than I have anything else. And so if I'm going to go to the trouble of driving all the way to the opposite side of the country to shoot, I want to make sure that I have a perfectly reliable system, and this is a perfectly reliable system. Now the 243, I have not shot 243 in a match for a while. I originally got this rifle, or got this barrel on this rifle, to shoot a PRS match down at Rock Castle Shooting Center quite some time ago, and really have not shot it a lot since. But I decided to break it out, get it on the rifle, and get out and use it for this match. When I look at the ballistics on it, the ballistics of the load that I am shooting are very similar to 6.5 Creedmoor. We could heat up this 243 a little bit and exceed those ballistics at the cost of barrel life. Now there is a speed limit on this match. I believe it's a 3,200 feet per second speed limit. And usually when you see speed limits imposed at matches, it's because they want to try to make sure their steel lasts as long as possible. When you start getting up into really high velocities, you start to damage targets, and you can end up breaking stuff a whole lot quicker. 243 shoots a fairly small bullet. Small bullets, fast velocity, really starts to ding up the face of steel pretty quickly. It doesn't transfer a ton of energy to the steel, but you can really pit up the face of it quickly. So for this match, I'm shooting the original load that I worked up for this barrel for a 3,100 foot per second speed limited match, and that is a 107 grain Match King, and it's running right about 2,900 foot per second, which is, you know, not even really warm for a 243. When I go to rework up this load, I'm going to work it up for about the 3,050 to 3,100 foot per second speed range. I think that will give me a little bit better ballistics. This barrel is probably about halfway through its life now, so it's going to start going downhill, I think, pretty quickly, especially if I warm up the load. With 2,900 foot per seconds, I think I'm eking out a little bit of extra barrel life on it. And to get that, we're running about 39 grains of H4350. Now, obviously, don't just copy that load and throw it into your rifle. We're running a 1 1/8 twist barrel. We probably don't have the same chamber that you may have in your rifle. So really, if you decide you want to run a similar load, drop down and then work your powder charge up. That way you don't have a catastrophic problem in your own rifle. The Accuracy International action is an incredibly strong action. So in my experience, you can run things a little bit warmer in the AIs and not even really start to see pressure signs versus some of the other rifles out there. Now, don't just take that for granted and go hog wild and blow up your Accuracy International. You still need to be smart about what you're doing and watch pressure signs, but they are good to go, and I definitely think that in the event of a catastrophic failure, this is probably going to save my face. So that's a little bit about the load that we're shooting in it. Overall, the rifle is a little bit heavy for matches like this where I'm going to be dragging it over hill and dale. I don't have a final weight on it, but it's in excess of 15 pounds. This 26-inch heavy barrel just really adds a ton to this rifle. If we switched over to a carbon fiber wrapped proof barrel, we would cut a ton of weight off the nose of the rifle and make it a whole lot more fun to handle. But you end up at a price premium in a 243. Again, when you have limited barrel life, adding that much cost to the rifle and dropping the barrel life, it hurts quite a bit. So that's a consideration to make. Now, a lot of guys have asked me about the Razor Gen I, if it is still a competitive optic. Well, I tell you what, the features have not changed on this scope since when I bought it, so the reasons that I bought it still hold true today. The turrets have a great feel to them. The clicks are nice and widely spaced apart, so it makes it really quick and really easy to dial them in, especially if you start to get into conditions where your hands are numb or you're in really messed up positions. You can really quickly get to exactly where you need. It's got large, easy to read markings on it, and the clicks really have a nice high quality feel to them. We do have a zero stop on the scope, so I'm not worried about getting stuck on a second turn and not realizing it. I can always come down, hit the zero stop, and come back up. Another advantage to the zero stop is right now I know I'm 1.5 clicks below my zero is where I hit the stop. So if I run into some situation where maybe the screw's back out and the turret slips, then I know I can reset my turret really quickly and get back on. Some other types of turrets I've seen in the past, if your turret slips, your zero's toast and you're pretty much screwed unless you have counted your clicks from mechanical bottom to mechanical top and figured out where your zero is based on that. The turrets do not lock on the Razor Gen 1, and while with big Mongo turrets like this one has, locking turrets are nice. Locking turrets are not mandatory as long as you have the forethought to check your zero before you step up to the firing line. So if you've rolled it on your pack straps or it's gotten kicked over on the ground or just carrying it, you've spun the turrets, it really makes sense when you're prepping to go up and shoot your stage to make sure you are back on zero before you start the stage, or back on whatever your intended dope setting is going to be. So the fact that it does not have locking turrets is not going to make me take this scope off the rifle and get rid of it. It's just an extra check in my mental checklist that I have to do before I step up to the line and go. This little guy we have talked about before. This is a Breakaway Coaster. You can get these on Amazon really cheaply. They're made for fishing tackle, but they work great as a throw lever for the magnification ring on the scope. It's got this big rubberized magnification ring, so the Breakaway Coaster grips on it really tightly. It works real well. I haven't had it slip at all. Just if you decide to use these, or any cattail for that matter, you need to make sure that when it is all the way over to the right, it's clocked in a position that doesn't interfere with your bolt handle. And then of course you want to make sure that when it's all the way over to the other side, again, it doesn't interfere with the bolt on the bottom side. And where I've got it here, it's fine. I always make sure that I have it up at 12 o'clock when I put the rifle in the bag, so that it's not putting too much undue stress on either side of the scope, and it's not running the chance of breaking, because it is just a nylon strap and knob. But they're very cheap on Amazon. I'll leave a link down below, and they work great. So you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on the nice machined aluminum guys. You can throw these on. They're a little bit big for my taste, but they work just fine. Two other things that we are running on here. We are running a short action precision 2-round holder on here. It's just really some nice insurance for two different reasons. One is if you are running a 10-round magazine and for some reason you just need one extra shot, instead of dumping the magazine and having to go through a whole reload, you can just strip the round off, throw it in, and shoot. And that really can save some time. Also with malfunctions, if you're running a 10-round limited stage and you run into a malfunction that ends up with a live round on the ground, then instead of having to execute a magazine change, again, you can just strip that round off the side, throw it in, and you're good to go. So we just consider those insurance rounds. The drawback to the 2-round holder the way it is your rounds are exposed, so you need to make sure that you're not getting mud and grit, etc. on them, because you really don't want to have a malfunction and then strip a mud-covered round off the side of your rifle and throw it into the receiver, because you can cause greater problems. So as long as you keep them clean and pay attention to what's going on with those rounds, the 2-round holder works great. And it's just Velcroed onto the side of the rifle here, so I can put it on or pull it off as I need to. The other piece of gear that I'm running on the rifle is a Sidewinder Industries Sidewinder dope card holder. This is a really cool kind of deal. It's got a Velcro pad on it, and I have a corresponding hook Velcro on the other side of the rifle. And what this allows you to do is Velcro this guy on here, and you can bend your dope card up to however you need it so you can see it while you are on the rifle. And I've still got dope written on it from the Guardian match here where we used it, and it works great just to have that right up in your face, quick to look at. I normally run a wrist coach or a data card holder on my wrist, and some positions you have to come back and look at that before you can make your dope adjustment. And if you're in a stage where you are arm forward, then you have to break position and bring your arm back to take a look at it. Or if you have it tucked underneath to holding the stock against a barricade or some other situation, then again you're going to have to break position to take a look. With this guy stuck on the side of your rifle, it's always there right in front of you. The only couple of drawbacks that I found with it is it does block some of your field of view. So if you shoot both eyes open like I am, you could have a target hiding behind it. So you need to sometimes break your head position if you're transitioning to the next target. That hasn't been a big problem for me, but it is something just to be aware of. You may want to try different positions to see what blocks your view the least. Because it's just this rubberized wire here that holds it in position, your adjustments are pretty much unlimited. The other disadvantage I found is I believe they cut it short like this. These are about business card size cards that go in here. I believe it's cut short to be able to allow you to get the cards in and out quicker. However, I would have liked to have seen a longer card holder just so I can still get all my data on there, but not have this part of the card exposed to the elements, exposed to the mud, etc. If they want to make it easy to get out, they could still cut half moon or something to be able to reach in there and grab it. But in reality, it's not that difficult just to squeeze it together, reach in, grab your card, and pull it out. So something for them to think about. And then finally, the Velcro. As you can see on the actual Sidewinder itself, the Velcro is loop Velcro, which means the side that is on your rifle has to be the hook Velcro. The Velcro that it came with is a pretty aggressive hook, and I generally dislike having hook Velcro on the outside of my rifle. When you're carrying the rifle, you're carrying it against your shirt, against other gear, and the hook Velcro tends to tear up smooth face fabrics pretty badly. It also collects all kinds of junk, weeds, grass, dirt, that kind of stuff will get hooked in there quite a bit. The plus side is it's easier to clean because you can just take a stiff bristle brush and clean that Velcro out, but it is a disadvantage. I would prefer to have just regular loop Velcro on the rifle side of it like we have with the 2-round holder here. Now for me, because I already have the one hook-sided Velcro that they included with the Sidewinder on the other rifle, for this one I used a little bit more aggressive hook Velcro. This is kind of an industrial version. It's much lower profile. It really doesn't stand out, and it doesn't seem to collect stuff as much as the normal Velcro stuff, and it is actually Velcro brand Velcro, but it still grabs a hold of and holds the Sidewinder on very securely. So I think that kind of solved the problem, but still I would rather see the loop Velcro on the rifle and the hook Velcro on the Sidewinder. Now, one advantage to having the loop Velcro on the Sidewinder is if you don't keep the Sidewinder on the rifle when it's in the bag and you stick it in other things, then it's not sticking to everything in your gear bag. But for me, it's not really a big deal to keep it stuck to the rifle. You can fold it down flat against the rifle, keep it in the case. Not a big deal. Also, when Sidewinder Industries sent us this guy, they included some of their all-weather cards. The Guardian match, we really tested how all-weather their cards were, and they seemed to hold up really well. Obviously, they did get wet, but they didn't just disintegrate like regular paper has a tendency to do. Obviously, you can cut your own write and rain cards however you want to go in here, but Sidewinder does offer refills for this should you wish to use their refills. So overall, a really neat piece of gear. We'll find this really handy, and once we get done with shooting the Snipershide Cup, you will probably see a full written review of this guy poke up on our website, and I'll link to Sidewinder Industries where you can check more out about the Sidewinder dope card. All right, so let's take a minute and talk about the handgun that I'm going to take to the match. Now, magazine is empty and the pistol is clear, but I wanted to show it to you with the magazine inserted just to give you an idea of what the overall package looks like. Now, this is a Glock 17 with the Fire for Effect Weaponry Rule 5 slide package on it, which basically just gives me a little bit of lightning cuts in the side, and then it gives me forward cocking serrations. Well, I don't really care about the slide cuts in the side here. They do look kind of cool. I really wanted the forward cocking serrations because I have a tendency to press check from the front of the pistol, and the standard Glock is really slippery up here. You get a little bit of dust, mud, grit, or sweat on your hands, and it makes it really difficult to execute a press check from the front of the handgun. You end up having to come to the back, and while it's not a huge issue, it's just one of those fine-tuning the weapon to work the way I want it to work. The Glock 17 for us has been 100% reliable. We are running a Vogel competition trigger kit in here. We have a video on our channel on how to install the Vogel competition trigger, and so far it has been an excellent trigger for us. It just cleans up that Glock trigger pull quite a bit and gives you a nice, light, reliable trigger pull. The weapon light underneath it is a Surefire X300 Ultra. I'm sure I don't really have to say a whole lot about it. Surefire weapon lights seem to be the de facto standard for pistol lights. They are extremely reliable, work extremely well. And for this, while I don't anticipate doing much night shooting, they do have on the match description some mention of low light shooting. So I'll make sure that I do have a weapon light on the handgun. And it works great in the event that there isn't any low light shooting. A little bit of extra weight hanging on the dust cover just helps keep the front of that pistol down through recoil a little bit more. The sights on here are Trijicon HDs. They just work very well. Again, they're tritium, so if we have to run in low light, then we have tritium sights. The magazine that I'm running in here, these are Magpul P-Mags with a ZEV +5 extension on them. The ZEV extension does a couple of things for me. In addition to giving me added magazine capacity, it adds a little bit of extra weight to the handgun, which again helps mitigate a little bit of recoil. Drawback on them is that right now, although they're advertised as +5s, I've really only been able to get 4 to run reliably. We had some initial problems with their first run. We do have a couple of replacement ZEV magazine extensions, and once we get a chance to really beat those around, we'll come back and give you a full review on the ZEV magazine extensions. We do also have the Magpul L plates on the bottom here. These are the rubberized plates for the Magpul magazines, so when you bounce them off the deck, there is less chance of damaging your magazines. This is especially helpful when you start to add weight to the magazines with these kind of magazine extensions, because then they're hitting the ground with a little bit more force than just an empty magazine, and plus it's nicer to hit on a rubber base pad than to start to hit on that polymer base pad and really chew it up. The regular magazines just have a hard polymer base plate, and overall I just think the L plates are a little bit nicer. Also, with the magazine extensions, I have a whole lot more room to grip if I have to rip one out and clear a malfunction. Overall, it still gives me a decent sized package. It gives me 21 rounds in the gun, 22 if I run one in the pipe, and a full magazine. So 22 rounds I'm betting will get me through a large percentage of the stages unless they have a required magazine change somewhere in the stage. The Glock is a reliable gun, so I have no doubts that it will function perfectly throughout this match. So that is about it on the guns that I'm going to take. We don't have time to go through all the support gear that I'm going to take to the match. We may cover that once I come back, but we're running out of time on this video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything that I've covered, please leave them in the comment section below or send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you've got a question that you'd like to have covered on the next Mail Call Mondays, go ahead and place it in the comments section down below. Now, we will not have a Mail Call Mondays on the next Monday because I will be on the road coming back from the Snipershide Cup. The match runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I will be pretty worn out and I will be about halfway back come Monday, so sorry, no video. But when we get back, at least the following Monday, we'll go ahead and get a video up and we'll recap some of the stuff that we did during the Snipershide Cup. So if you have any questions about that, then leave them in the comment section down below. That's about it, guys, and until next time, get out and shoot.